most people who have been minting Bitcoin NFTs are broke now, like everyone else, and it's just like not going to be a profit generator for them. A lot of these things are just like go up really hard and then go down really hard, and that's basically been the entire market since early 2023. And so yeah, Marathon made I think over $1 million in revenue from that entire project, which is great for one project. But since then, it's not going to be like a revenue driver for them. A moral question.
So whether Ocean's morally correct? Mara. So yeah, and I mean I guess with Mara you could make the case where it's like, look, if these aren't violating Bitcoin, consensus rules, violating consensus rules.
Have I mixed those two up?
Consensus would be like the core essence of the protocol. So mempool.
So sorry. So when people run their own node, let's say they're running knots and they've got the 80 byte limit, they're not going to relay this stuff around.
Correct.
Is that called a?
That's mempool relay policy.
Okay, it's policy, not consensus.
Yeah.
So consensus will allow this stuff in, and they've basically got this side door where people go directly to them and say, hey, I've got a CAD JPEG or whatever, and I'm going to pay a little bit more. Please put it in the blockchain and mine it. And so I've got my own personal views on that, but I'm wondering what your views are on whether miners should really be doing that sort of stuff, or they should just say, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, so I think, and this kind of ties into sort of the broader like spam question in terms of just like, is it moral or ethical, or should you kind of publish NFTs or spam the Bitcoin network, depending on how you define it. My personal view is that like, if there is a valid Bitcoin transaction per the consensus, per the consensus rules, it's a valid Bitcoin transaction, and maybe there's some things that we did along the way that we didn't really expect to get to, have this be possible. But I think if we start arbitrarily censoring valid Bitcoin transactions, that is a far more dangerous precedent than doing things like, than maybe it being more expensive to send an economic transaction or things like that. I also think if you really believe that, Bitcoin is the truth, capital T, or if you really think that, if you're a Bitcoin maximalist as I am, and you think that Bitcoin is by far the most important invention in recent human history, by far the most important application of the blockchain, by far the most important cryptocurrency, a black hole of value over the coming centuries, then one wonders if these JPEGs are actually gonna are they even gonna be able to compete with economic transactions in the next 10, 20 years? Obviously, guys like Shinobi raise interesting points around the importance of folks still being able to have, hold their own Bitcoin on the blockchain, being able to control their own UTXO. But query whether it's even realistic to assume that all 7 billion people want their own, UTXO on the blockchain and things like that. So I don't know. I think in general, it sort of is permissible per Bitcoin consensus rules. Therefore, I think there's nothing morally reprehensible about what Mara is doing. And also, it's great that this is coming up now. Like, the sooner we can surface these issues, the better. So the fact that Mara is doing this and is sparking, this vitriol on Twitter is actually positive, because the stakes are only going to get higher as time goes on. And so really what it means is like, okay, we take this, we now need to have a conversation around what Bitcoin should allow, and that will inform what future soft forks include, is my personal view.
It's a good view. It's a good view. Any other?